Viktor Frankl was an Austrian neurologist, psychiatrist, philosopher, and a Holocaust survivor. Yes, I believe it happened. Who developed a form of psychotherapy called logotherapy, based on the idea that one of our most fundamental human motivations is the search for meaning. Interesting, that work started long before the Holocaust. As a medical student in Vienna, Frankl organized youth counseling centers between 1928 and 1930 because of a disturbing pattern of teen suicides around the time of the end of year report cards. And then by 1931, not a single Viennese student died by suicide. Then Hitler came. And as a Jew then living in Austria, Frankl and his family were deported to concentration camps. He survived. His parents, his wife, other family members did not. His book, Man's Search for Meaning, grew largely out of those experiences and his observation of how people responded to unimaginable circumstances. He had written and hidden a manuscript of what was to become Man's Search for Meaning, then lost it after his hiding place was confiscated. Frankl began reconstructing it from memory on scraps of paper while still in camps. And that's really the Frankl question we're bringing into this conversation. When you can't control your circumstances, what can you still choose? And what gives your life meaning?
Carl Jung, on the other hand, was a Swiss psychiatrist and prolific author and has been one of the most influential figures in all of psychology. He developed analytical psychology, which focuses on balancing conscious experience with the collective unconscious, whatever that means. He also developed universal archetypes and symbolic meanings to achieve psychological wholeness, along with giving us concepts that have become part of everyday language, including intro and extroversion. He was also fascinated by dreams, mythology, and spirituality, and especially the unconscious parts of ourselves that we'd rather not acknowledge. And his ideas even played an indirect role in the chain of events that eventually led to the founding of Alcoholics Anonymous. Jung was also asking some pretty uncomfortable questions. What happens when we refuse to face parts of ourselves? What are we running from? And what does it actually mean to become a whole person?
And then there's Alan Watts, who comes at all of this from yet another direction. Watts was a British born writer and speaker who became one of the most influential interpreters of Eastern philosophy for Western audiences, particularly Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism, and Zen. He challenged our obsession with controlling everything, our tendency to create rigid identities for ourselves, and the assumption that happiness comes from finally getting everything that we want. Which brings us to why we're putting these three people in the same conversation today. On the surface, Frankl, Jung, and Watts couldn't be much more different. A Holocaust survivor and a psychiatrist, a pioneering psychologist fascinated by the unconscious, and a philosopher translating Eastern wisdom for the West. But they arrived at some surprisingly similar conclusions about how we're supposed to live. The article that sparked this conversation boils those ideas down to 5 rules. Stop searching for happiness and search for meaning. Face the things you're trying to avoid. Recognize that your identity is more flexible than you think. Stop trying to control everything, and question the invisible prisons you've built for yourself. Whether these really are the 5 rules all 3 men discovered is something we'll have to unpack. But the bigger question is this: what did these 3 very different thinkers understand about being human that we still struggle to actually practice today? Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom. I'm Callie.
I'm Cole.
And I'm Mom. So this was kind of just an interesting one. Cole's probably the biggest philosopher between the three of us, I would say.
Philosophizer.
Philosophizer, okay. But I thought it was just really interesting, these 5 rules, and I wanted to just talk to y'all about them.
I think it will be interesting.
Yeah. Some of them were a little bit scary. The one about, giving up control, not really in my wheelhouse very well.
Yeah, I get that.
So,
Yeah.
and Callie, when we were kind of prepping for this, you said the first rule was your challenge.
Yeah. So let's break them down one at a time and kind of chat through them. Cool? So, rule number 1 is stop searching for happiness, search for meaning. seek meaning over happiness. And I immediately went, am I doing this wrong? Am I doing life wrong? Because I feel like happiness is what I'm pursuing. Happiness is my constant pursuit. I don't need all of the rest of it. I just want to be joy personified, not only for myself, but for everybody that I come in contact with. I want to bring that peace, that happiness.
But isn't that meaning?
I don't know. Is it?
Yeah, I don't know if I can go there with you on that one, Mom, because I mean, in Cali, this is kind of some of those things that we've talked about in the past. Without light, you can't have darkness. Without sadness, you can't have joy. And so trying to be only one of those things inherently to me is an imbalance.
I think that that's kind of where I struggle with all of this though, because I'm not trying to only be happiness. I am not foregoing every other emotion for the sake of happiness. Screw being angry. I want to be happy. I mean, like, I think that I enjoy the sunshine. I enjoy feeling that warmth on my face. I enjoy the levity that it brings. I'm not
Sure.
opposed to any of the other things, but I'm actively choosing to seek happiness and to
And
find
I
that
think
wherever
that
I can.
that is where the imbalance comes from, and kind of what he's talking about with the leading to a later question, dealing with things outside of your control, releasing control. Because you're only pursuing one of those things, it still brings imbalance.
I don't even know how to search for meaning. What does that even look like?
You got me. I don't know either.
So I'm doing it
I'm not
wrong, but
saying
you can't tell
I'm
me
not
how to
saying
fix it.
I'm not saying I'm doing any better than you are. I'm just pointing out from the perspective of these questions what they seem to be saying you're doing wrong.
Okay, well, let's go back to this. Neither one of you feel like you know what meaning the search for meaning means.
Do you?
Is to me that's purpose.
And which is
Yeah, what's your purpose?
I think my purpose is to be a good human being and to have that influence on other people, to incorporate what I learn and glean and utilize that in everyday life. Because I think if you don't have something like that, then you are off kilter.
Why does it matter?
Because at the end of my life, I want to be able to say there was a reason.
And what would you say the reason is? If you were on your deathbed tomorrow, what would the reason be?
This is going to sound cheesy, but I think my reason is y'all.
I don't think that sounds cheesy.
I mean, I
I
think,
think that sells you short.
I agree.
hmm, interesting.
For the record, Cole and I did not collude prior to this episode. I did not tell him to say that. But the funny thing is, Cole, mom asked me a question the other day, something along the lines of, it was like, describe me in 3 words. And my third word was underestimated.
Yeah. I think where I struggle in finding meaning for myself is I have failed to find meaning in the broader universe. And so trying to find meaning for myself in what I perceive as a meaningless existence is really hard.
Yeah, I can see that.
So it definitely makes it easier to pursue happiness because that's achievable.
N- n-
Measurable.
Unmeasurable and only momentarily.
Sure. But again, if my perspective is that the universe in and of itself does not have a purpose, it simply exists, then who am I to claim that I have some purpose in this purposeless existence?
Okay, I'm going to ask this question. It seemed kind of hard, but if there is no purpose to the universe, does that mean there's no purpose to you?
As a part of the universe, yes.
I'm not sure I agree with that. I think there's a reason that we have evolved to what we are.
But without additional context, it makes assigning purpose to the broader universe and us as a part of that greater mechanism impossible from my personal perspective.
Okay, so we failed with the first question.
But here's my question, though. I'm going to give you any person in history, dead, alive, whether you know them or not, don't care. Can you name the meaning of one person's life?
I I think that that's a really tricky question because is it their purpose or is it the universe's purpose? Because lots of people have come up with a purpose for their life, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's accurate in the context of the broader universe of existence.
So it sounds to me like there's no right and no wrong answer, but we are definitely getting it wrong.
That
Yeah,
sounds like us.
I hate that.
that sounds like
Oh,
psychology to me.
Yeah. Sounds like a crock of shit if you ask me.
okay. Well, how about if we go to the second one to see if we do any better there?
Okay.
Okay.
Everything you refuse to face eventually controls you. Take action on situations that you avoid or put off and do it even if feeling less than perfect to reduce long term anxiety. Okay, I kind of agree with this one.
I agree too.
Easier said than done.
Easier
I
said than done.
I have this saying that Mom, you're going to laugh, that somebody gave me years ago that I use routinely, especially in tough, hard situations for myself, for other people. You deserve what you tolerate. And I feel like that applies so soundly here because no matter whatever it is, you either deserve it or you refuse to face it. And that's what you tolerate.
Yeah.
You have
I
to
thought
make a choice.
I thought you were going to go with we can do hard things.
We can do hard things, but I'm not sure
And
about
we
the search
can,
for
and I think
meaning.
that's a part of this too is that you can't let fear control it. You have to go ahead and face it. And I think that comes down to, and I thoroughly believe this, is that eventually it's going to get you. I mean, whatever it is that you're trying to avoid, eventually it's going to get you. It's going to bite you right in the butt. And so you might as well face it and figure it out and and do something about it. And I think that's a lot of what this is.
Cole always says, quick or dead. It may not always be the right choice, but you have to decide and move or
Yeah.
you die.
Yeah. I think that's part of it. I mean, I look at people whose, childhood has influenced them in so many ways that it influences everything that they do. It tempers everything that they do. And I think that's what this is
It,
talking about is that you might as well go ahead and face that and not let it control you.
it's a whole lot easier to see from the outside looking in. But,
Agreed.
I mean, this really is rule number 5 that we're already jumping ahead here to, but I can clearly see the repercussions of many of my friends' childhoods embodied in their personalities today.
But I also think that that can go both ways. Like
Yeah.
I'm sitting here and maybe I'm reading into it more than either of you are anticipating, but that sounds pretty heavy. Well, this is what happened to me and this is who I am and I didn't address it. But I again go back to Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, and her dad teaching them to celebrate failure. And she walked into her career excited to fail, to get better and to improve. And so I think in that situation, like she was actively choosing to face all of this. And so she became the one in control.
Yeah. I think that's really good. I think on the other side of that, I think of a kid of a divorced family. I really do think that divorce, not 100% of the time, because I have some friends whose family were divorced and they seem very well adjusted. But I also know some other people who that divorce marked the rest of their life. And it marked every relationship that they had, how they saw themselves, if they felt like they were loved or unloved. I would say the same thing. I mean, when you've experienced a death for somebody that you love, I think that is a factor here, and that if you don't address that and choose to look at it and examine it and figure out how it fits in your life as a whole, those things can still mark you down the road. So I think that's what this is that what we refuse to look at.
I think both of your examples are perfect illustrations of the point that they're trying to make here. Yes, Callie, this woman did understand that there were going to be things outside of her control and that there were going to be failures, but that she could utilize those failures to progress. And that's exactly what rule number 2 is telling you to do, because a lot of people have difficulty admitting their failures.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you can't admit your failure, how can you learn from it? But if you have the ability to do so, then regardless, I'm sure this woman that you're referencing still fails today.
Mhm.
There are still things, maybe she has more that she has control of in a literal sense, but there are still things outside of her control.
Mhm.
And as long as she continues to utilize those things and utilize those failures to learn, that is progress towards this greater whole psychological self.
I
Yeah.
agree.
I think it's that difference between looking at a failure and not letting it maim you and claim you versus using that as a stepping stone to learn something. And I
Yeah,
think
getting
that's
back
where
up.
this is going.
Well, I also think though, Mom, you're talking about kind of grief and being overwhelmed by all of that. But I think that, God, y'all, I'm such a freaking optimist. I think that also, though, there are other things that you can take out of that grief. If you're talking about somebody that was really important to you has passed away, I think that you can sit down with yourself and you don't have to do it like an asshole, but you can sit down within yourself and say, my God, I am so thankful that I had the time that I did. I am so grateful that this person was a part of my life. I am relieved that they're not struggling with this, that, or the other anymore, that they don't have to worry about this, that this isn't a concern anymore. And I think that allowing yourself to be okay in those moments, to find some peace, to seek some peace, I think is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that is exactly the point, because that is not pursuing happiness. That is identifying the meaning in the relationship that you had with them, accepting the grief that it hurts, but
Yeah.
recognizing that regardless of that grief, there was meaning because there was happiness in that relationship too, which again goes back and brings balance. You acknowledge both the good and the bad, accept that I don't have any control over this. It is what
Yeah.
it is,
Yeah.
and you again identify that purpose of that relationship, the meaning of that relationship, instead of pursuing happiness.
I guess and maybe my brain is just short circuiting on this and that's fine, but I just wonder if the pursuit of happiness for me is the meaning to
I think in
shift my
some ways it is.
perspective, to change the way that I'm looking at something, to allow the uncomfortable to find comfort in those moments and scenarios and situations. And I'm kind of classifying that as seeking happiness because my purpose is never to go bury my head in the sand and ignorance is bliss and like none of it matters, nothing like I'm over here telling jokes by myself, nothing else is happening, everything is fine. Like that's not at all what I'm doing or saying, but it's finding
But
it.
see, I think that's what they mean by this
Yeah.
pursuit of happiness, where and so I think it's a little bit of a misidentification, because happiness is something that is going to happen, but so is sadness and grief, and accepting that both of those are a thing and utilizing them together and understanding again identifying the purpose in both of those things, instead of burying my head in my sand and saying, oh yes, my favorite relative that has passed away is dead, but I'm happy because I had so many memories with them, and sadness doesn't exist. That's lying to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
that
think too,
is
for
what
Cal,
pursuing happiness is, I
your
believe, in this
definition of
context.
happiness isn't party girl and just all the time fun. That's not it. You described your happiness very differently.
Yeah.
It's that's a that's a definition that's not matching up to
Askew.
what I
Yeah.
think they mean by happiness.
I'll take that. Okay, then I feel like less of a failure on rule number 1.
Okay. Well, there you go. Okay, well, let's see if we can get you on rule number 3. This one I actually like really well, and I think we should all take hold of this one. Your identity is more flexible than you think. Have responsibility for self instead of waiting for motivation or perfect conditions. Now, when I get to that first one, I start thinking we all have it in our minds of who we are. I'm not tall enough, or I'm too fat, or I laugh too loud, or I don't look right, or I'm not pretty, or we have all of those things. And and when it talks about you're more flexible, I think that's saying let go of those definitions. Just be who you are naturally supposed to be. And I think that's really freeing. I'm not there, but
Just do it. Don't wait for the right opportunity to do it. Just do
yeah,
it. I think that's something that
yeah,
we all struggle with, myself particularly.
yeah.
I think in the last 8 to 12 months, that's one of the things that I have really
Mm,
leaned into. And I am having an absolute blast learning exactly how flexible I can be and what is and isn't important to me, what I like and what I don't, what value I bring to the world and how I'm willing to share that and share that sunshine. I mean, and mom and I had a conversation here a few weeks ago. Y'all, like, the arrogance is not my jam and that is not my thing, but I'm so freaking proud of me. Mom and I had a conversation the other day. She's like, "Hey, I think you need to take a vacation." And I was like, I don't feel like I've really earned a vacation. I don't feel like I've done enough to warrant a vacation. I've got stuff I'm working on and stuff I'm doing, and I'm excited about this, and this is going well, and this I'm frustrated by, but I'm excited to get to it, and all of these things. And she goes, "Callie, you've changed your whole life in the last 6 months. You've moved across the state. You've changed your relationship status. You've changed jobs. You've changed locations. You've done all of this. Like, what more do you need to do to deserve it?"
yeah.
And it really resonated with me. And if I'm being really honest, I still haven't taken that vacation, but it's on my schedule and I'm going to figure it out. But beyond that, like, I think that everybody makes fun of me. I am one of the least picky eaters around, and you guys are both very good too. And if you ask me, you're like, "Callie, what don't you like to eat?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but I don't really like scallops." But my follow-up is always, "But I keep trying them because I hope that one of these days I'm going to love them. I want so badly to like them." And I feel like that's part of my way of being flexible is not having a rigid rule of, "Well, I don't like scallops, so why would I ever try them again? Well, I didn't deserve a vacation, so I shouldn't take one." I mean, like, it's just it's really fun to be flexible. It's really fun, for me at least, to try new things and to go out and do something different and check over here and try over there, and what if it's great? What if I love it?
We were just having a conversation about a dating profile, and a guy had something on it that we were both just really shocked about. What was that? That was a deal breaker for him.
Cilantro. Cilantro!
Yeah.
It was on Married at First Sight. It was on Married at
Yes.
First Sight, and this guy was talking to the experts on Married at First Sight, and he was like, "If somebody likes cilantro, that's a hard pass for me. I am not going to waste my time spending time with somebody who likes cilantro."
I was dumbfounded.
What?
Yeah. Where does that come from?
What
And I mean,
impact does this have on you? Who cares?
yeah. I mean, we've talked a lot about dating profiles, and I've really laughed. And Cole, you've talked about how women have this certain, I'm not going to say what you say, but they have certain profiles that they, expect,
Six figures,
anticipate. But I
6
think
foot,
this goes
6 inches.
right back to it is that there has to be some flexibility there. I mean, we've talked about that's about 1% of the male population. So unless you just
If
are
that.
feeling really, really lucky, that ain't going to happen. So why not be more flexible in what you're looking at? I mean, I think there are certain things that you should say, hey, this is important to me.
Yeah.
But I think
I agree. I
there
think a lot of that is social media and being wrapped up in this facade that seems to be so ever present in modern society.
I agree with you. Yeah. It just seems really weird. Yeah, the cilantro one really blew our minds. We were both
Yeah.
sitting there going,
What?
Huh. Yeah.
I mean, and the only thing I can think about that is that, I mean, there are people whose DNA makes that taste really bad. So maybe if you ate it and then he kissed you was the only thing I could come up with. But seriously,
That's what toothbrushes and mouthwashes are for. Like, suck it up, dude.
No, get him out of the dating pool. Totally
yeah,
fine.
yeah, that's
Maybe
true.
we don't need him to reproduce.
You might be right.
That could be true. Okay.
That's just
Okay. This
natural selection, baby.
this is the one that I don't like at all. Life begins to change when you stop trying to control everything. You develop strong internal locus of control where you accept limits of control and let go of micromanaging outcomes by setting intentions, then accepting the results. That's a mouthful.
Mom and I did this whole thing where we were putting our intentions out into the universe, and we kind of felt like the universe was a bitch.
Agreed.
We were both really irritated by it.
Yeah, we stopped
See,
that.
I feel like this is like both good, but also contradicts rule number 2.
Mhm.
Why? I think they're totally different. I really do. I
Um,
think they're totally different. I think 2 is talking about letting psychological things control you, and 4 is about you trying to micromanage. My children are always gonna be dressed perfectly. They're always gonna be, great little adults. I'm gonna drive the nicest car. I'm gonna have the nicest house. It's always gonna be clean. I think they're different.
So you think that this is more shallow versus the number 2 is more depth?
I think it's the difference between a psychological wound, the appearance of having control over your entire life, because I just don't think we have control over most of our life.
sure, but rule 2 is take actions on situations that you avoid, which is things that you can't control. So that is control things that you don't think you can control.
But stop trying to
Mm,
control everything.
Yes,
yeah, I see them separately.
that's fine, but let me see if I can give you an example. I went down to Austin this weekend for a friend's wedding, and I rode with another friend, a friend that I love very much and care about. He drives like a fucking maniac.
Is that how you really feel?
Yes. At the same time, I don't think he drives that much different than me, just faster. And so on our way home today and on our way down on Thursday night, there were several times where I'm hitting that brake pedal over on the passenger side, but I didn't say anything. So am I accomplishing rule number 4 by admitting that this is a thing that is outside of my control and accepting it? Or am I breaking rule number 2 and avoiding conflict by telling him to slow down?
You deserve what you tolerate. And if you tolerate him acting and driving like a crazy person without ever even mentioning it,
But
I
is it
mean,
worth getting in a fight over? We didn't get any accidents. He got me home safe.
here's my question though. Does every piece of tension have to be a fight? Does it have to be an argument?
No.
Sometimes, with some people, yes.
Sometimes. Not every time. I would say not every time with not every person. Sometimes with some people.
So is this like the cilantro guy? Like you just never ride with him again?
I think that's irrelevant to the question here. Mm.
Well, and the reason that I ask that is because I'm wondering, like, if you're not willing to do anything about it and you don't want to get into a fight, and with some people, every piece of tension is going to result in a fight, like, and maybe this is me breaking the other rules here, but like, is that somebody that you want to spend time with? Somebody that you
Yeah.
can't have a hard conversation with? Because it's
Mm.
always gonna result in a fight. I mean, like, I don't.
Would it have really
To me,
resulted
it
in a
was more of
fight?
a, "This is not a hill I'm willing to die on"
Exactly.
situation.
Yeah.
So, that's breaking rule number 2 to me.
Well, I mean, if you refuse to have a conversation with him about his driving, then yes, that does control you because you're a passenger in his car,
But I
technically,
also am succeeding at rule number 4 in the same time,
because you're trying not well, yeah,
because they contradict each other.
they do not. They're different things.
You just agreed with me that they do!
No, I think they're different things. I did agree with you in your scenario, but I think technically they're very different things.
Okay.
So, Mom, you mentioned that number 4 is where it kind of loses you. Can you give me an illustration of one of those frustrations for you?
I definitely think I struggled with this when I was younger, just trying to do everything and be everything. So I think that's where that comes to me.
What was younger? Is that 12? Is that 25? Is that 35?
I, yeah, adult,
Okay.
just trying to, you know, be the best employee, be the best mom, be the best wife, be the best friend, and trying to keep everybody happy. And you come to a point where you finally realize that that's not really your job to keep everybody happy.
What is
Damn
To
it, I
exist.
hate these questions. And I'm gonna go back to what I think I said it initially. I think my job is really to be the best Mecca I can be, the best person that I can be. And if you don't like that, not you too, but if you as a
okay.
general public don't like that,
Yeah.
then that has to be okay.
Yeah.
I don't have to not everybody has to like me.
And do you think that there was a turning point where you came to that realization?
I think it's been a lifetime to discover that.
So it's a curve, not a 90-degree angle.
I think it's a curve.
Okay.
I did talk to a friend here recently who actually said to me, I think the older you get, the more therapy you need, which made me laugh at the time. But I thought, oh, that's kind of funny because I was going with the opposite is that at some point, aren't you too old to have to need therapy? And she said, oh, no, I think the older you get, the more therapy that you need.
Well, we were just talking earlier today about typically the older you get, the less you care about what everybody else thinks.
Yeah.
Whereas as there have been moments where you almost feel the opposite.
Yeah. I think, but I will say this I don't think I'm at the age yet to where I'm at that I don't give a I don't give a rat's ass about things. I want to get to that age to where I just don't care. I don't think I'm there yet.
Okay. So my next question becomes this. Do you think that that's a curve or a 90-degree turn? Do you think you're going to turn 83 and all of a sudden not care anymore?
I
No,
think
but
it's
it
a
would be
curve.
really nice to know that it was right around the corner, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But no, I think it's a curve.
I think most things are.
I don't disagree, but the reason that I'm asking is because I feel like this is my kind of opportunity to push you a little bit to start caring less. Care less today than you did yesterday. It's that, oh gosh, who says it? I can't remember who, and I apologize because I can't provide credit here. But somebody says, You don't have to be the best. You just have to be 1% better than you were yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah, but being the best is awesome.
from our humble side.
I mean, but is it always? In all ways? I mean, LeBron James is known as the GOAT, right? You think he
He's
doesn't still
he's
have things he
a
wants
goat.
to approve on?
He's
Improve
some
on?
people's goat. Sure.
So does that make him not the best? Because he's still got 1% to
Well,
get better tomorrow?
the best and unimprovable are not necessarily the same.
Fair.
I agree. I
Like,
was
I can
thinking the
be
same
better
thing.
at something than you and still need to improve on that thing. But being better is pretty rad. You see your name in that number 1 slot on a leaderboard. Hey, best in the world, baby.
Winning's fun.
Winning is fun.
Hmm. I don't know. I think if we're going to look at all of this like a curve, which again, I don't disagree with, I think that we have to be leaning into it.
I think that's valid.
I don't think that we can just expect it to be a 90-degree turn all of a sudden.
You don't think that we can just stick our head in the sand and let it come, that we have to be paying attention and
Working towards it, doing the legwork, making it
Because if
happen
you
for
don't, you
yourself.
won't be the best for very long.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point. I just think that control is a hard one for some people. Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Why do you say that? Give me an example. You you are one of the most agreeable people because you don't have hard lines. So where is your control at?
I want to know what is happening. So
Mm.
if I get a message from someone that says, "Hey, we're gonna go do this weekend," I want to know, okay, where are we going? When are we going? Not, I mean, I'll meet you there at some point on Saturday and we'll figure it out then. Like, that doesn't work for me.
Actually, it did work for you quite well. You rolled with that.
I did, and it was unpleasant, and I
Uh,
was not super thrilled about it.
okay, but you did it. I
Y-
think you
And just
had that
because
not
something doesn't go the way you want doesn't mean you just throw your hands in the air and give up and it's the end of the
yeah.
world. But it doesn't
I
mean
think
that it happened the way you wanted it to or that
yeah.
you were thrilled about the process.
I think you hide that frustration really well and that most people don't know it.
Very much so, because I suck at rule number 2 and 4, apparently.
Okay. Well, talking about 5, the greatest prison is the one you can't see. Cultivate a fluid identity and regularly questioning rigid self views on what you can and cannot do. That's the growing part, right?
Maybe one of these days I'm gonna love scallops.
I still don't understand why you don't like scallops.
Me neither, but I
She doesn't
want
have
I,
to.
mine.
I love
Make them.
scallops.
I'm in. I'll eat them.
I, I, I think that's just, I think that kind of goes back to number 2 to say what you fail to acknowledge is where you get stuck. That's the prison, what you fail to acknowledge.
That you're refusing to see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean, we all do it. It's
sure.
at some point, multiple points, we all do those kind of things.
I
You
think
know,
for me, it's less of like a you can or can't do this in my head. It's that's gonna be a lot of work. That's a lot of effort,
yeah.
which I think
I
has a similar outcome.
mm, you want it to really be a win. I think people stay in the same job and that can become a prison. I think they stay in the same relationship sometimes. I think they stay in the same rut sometimes, and that's what this is really talking about, and that you really have to look at yourself and acknowledge yourself and have a conversation with yourself on a regular basis to help keep you out of that rut.
I also think, though, that as is the case with anything, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. Like, I understand what you're saying about all of the examples that you just gave. You stayed in a job too long, you stayed in a relationship too long, you don't wanna be stuck in a rut. But I think also living your life like a pinball machine isn't productive either. It doesn't give you the opportunity to plant roots and grow,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
And I think that that's where rule number 2 comes in. You have to set boundaries and hold those boundaries firm. You
right.
can't just be a doormat, but you also need to recognize, "Hey, sometimes my boundaries may be wrong. Maybe I
Yes.
need to reassess my
Yeah.
boundaries and say, 'Hey, maybe I'm too rigid on this.
Right.
Maybe I need to think about it from a different perspective.'" And there's a real negative connotation with this, but sometimes you have to move the goalpost.
I think you need to be willing to move the goalpost when the goalpost needs to be moved.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Usually, that term moving the goalpost is moving it in my favor. I think that
Out of
there's
yours.
always a
Yeah.
willingness to move the goalpost in one's self favor, whereas this is saying, "Hey, sometimes you need to move the goalpost in someone else's favor because it's going to be more beneficial for you in the long run, even though it may
Cool.
make you uncomfortable at the first. You need to have some more flexibility here,
I
or at
think
least
that's super
assess."
valid.
Yeah.
I think that's very wise of you even to say. So, is there something that you think you don't see or you haven't admitted to yourself, either one of you? I know y'all are gonna turn this back on me, so I'm trying to frantically think of an answer here.
Sounds like you already know.
Why? What do you why?
Well, you know that we're going to turn it back on you.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've got something in mind already.
No, no, I'm thinking I know that y'all are gonna ask me the same question, and do I have an answer for it? That's really where I
Hmm.
was going. I mean, I
I mean, I
think
think
we
this
all
is probably one of the hardest ones to answer personally.
blind spots.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they're blind spots for a reason.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's really valid. So,
I think though, I think that in some ways, and I'm again, hubris aside, I think that one of our goals independently, collectively, the three of us with this podcast was very actively seeking to do that number 5 rule well.
ask questions.
Ask questions, be curious, hear each other out, have hard conversations, have weird conversations, ask questions. I mean, like all of those different things to hopefully, potentially address those blind spots in ourselves, to have an opportunity to safely point them out to each other. Callie, you're missing this. You're in this prison because you're missing all of this.
Yeah. I think it comes with trying to widen the horizon, and I think we've done that a lot together. I mean, I mean, I mouth about y'all picking on me, but sometimes you tell me the truth and I have to face it and acknowledge it and go on. And that's reciprocal.
Mhm. I think I always laugh because there are so many dating profiles out there that are like, "I'm dating with intention," but you don't ever respond or talk to anybody, or you've put 0 effort into your profile, and you're just like, "Dude, this is not intention," or at least your intention sucks. And I think that if you are doing dating well, if you're actually being intentional about it, I think that there's some self-work that comes into play in that. And I think one of the things is, I mean, like, it's a very, like, common icebreaker question, like, "What are your red and green flags?" But I and I think that I'm one of the weird ones in that, like, I put serious thought into answering that. Well, what are my red flags? What do I do here? And one of the things that I have noticed about myself is that I tend to over function for other people. I tend to I'll fill the awkward silence. Like, I got you. I can talk us through this. I will sit here and let you talk about movies for 3.5 hours while we are not eating because you're just so distracted by telling me about this movie that you saw in 1994. I I also tend to diffuse, Mom, we were just talking about this earlier. I tend to diffuse situations, especially uncomfortable situations, with humor. And I think that that's one of the things that I'm actively recognizing. Sometimes I just need to be okay with everything not being okay without fixing it, without changing it. Hey, you had a
Easier
hard
said than
day.
done.
It is. It is easier said than done. But it's one of those things that because I am in this situation of dating and I feel like I'm doing an honest job doing that, I'm having to and choosing to look at myself differently and with a new lens and questioning my own rigid self views to say, "Hey, how can I do this better? How can I improve in this area? What am I coming up short on? How could this be smoother? And not even just for the comfortability factor of it all. I mean, just truly for the benefit of my long-term mental health and stamina."
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, sidebar, real quick. Number one red flag.
For each of us, I overfunction for other people.
No, what is your a red flag that you see that other people is like, okay, if they do this, I am not going to interact with them.
Conflict with their family.
Interesting. See, I've seen so many families like ours that if you have conflict with that, I would be concerned about. But I've also seen some really awful families that I get it if you have conflict with them.
My second one would be if you're not nice to the waiter.
Yeah,
Those kinds of things because I
that's
I
me,
think that's
manners. Like if you don't say
yeah,
please and thank you, like not interested. Like I don't even want to really
yeah.
talk to you anymore.
So I think if somebody, Callie, where did we hear this? And they said that if they went out with a person who had been divorced and they badmouthed their ex,
Yeah,
that
James Sexton, the divorce lawyer.
that they were done. There there just wasn't a reason to continue going because they hadn't gotten over it.
And if they
Rule 2.
badmouth their ex, what are they gonna say about you?
What are they gonna say about you? And so he has no patience for that whatsoever. And I that's what I
Yeah.
mean even about the family part of it. If you don't have a relationship with somebody in your family, if you're not close to somebody and care about somebody in your family, that's a huge red flag to me. That
Well,
means something's wrong.
uh,
And it
even
could be with the
beyond
family.
And even beyond that, I think that if you have a big problem, like big problems that you cannot even begin to address with your own family or the people closest to you, how are you going to address those problems with me?
Yeah.
See, I think is like familiar issues are too circumstantial to make that broad of an assessment.
But I'm really close to my family. So is that going to be a problem for you? And
But
and at
that is
the
going
end
to be
of
a
the
red
day,
flag for them, not for you.
and it
Right.
was. And it was. Like, I lived this, and they tried to pull me away from my family and separate me from my family, and I refused, and then in turn, he went and grew closer to his family. Like, could I have just counted it all out at the beginning? Oh, he doesn't have a actual relationship with anyone in his family. It's gonna be a dead end.
But see,
Maybe.
I think that's what I'm saying. I think that's a red flag that you have to look at.
Yeah.
Is it a completely
Deal breaker.
deal breaker? No, but I think it's one that you have to start looking
That
at
was
to
the
say,
question. What's the biggest deal breaker red flag?
Okay,
it's
I'm
so
gonna
hard.
go.
Okay.
Please do.
And I hate admitting this out loud, especially knowing that this is going on the internet, but whatever. I'm going to say it anyway, and I'm going to look like a complete asshole in the process, and I don't even care. I need you to be fairly intelligent. I don't
Mm.
need you to know anything and everything about everything, but I need you to be
Able
curious
to have
enough
a
to ask
conversation and
questions
process thought.
to have a conversation.
Yeah, I'm with
Because
you. I don't
while
think that's.
I
I
there
think
have
you're totally
certainly, like,
fine,
I've
gig.
I've come home from a couple of dates and mom's like, "How was it?" And I'm like, "I think he's dumb." And I feel judgmental and rude and mean for that. And maybe they're perfectly
But
content and
sometimes they're just
happy,
dumb.
but sometimes they're just dumb. And what that means is they're not my person because I'm already bored. How are we going to do this 10 or 15 years in? I
I
already
get it.
think you're a moron
You can be really hot,
and
but
still
if
dumb,
I
and
can't
it
have a
doesn't
conversation
do
with
it.
you, that's not enough. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, boo. What's your red flag? What's your deal breaker?
Manners, bad manners. If you don't say please and thank you, like if I do something for you and like you just walk off,
Yeah.
see ya. If you ask me to do something and don't say please, see ya. Like
It's
it's just
really
common courtesy stuff.
it's really a please and thank you. It's not, I mean, if I was appreciative but I didn't say thank you,
I'm not saying you literally have to say thank you,
okay, good. I
but
was
most of the time
questioning
when
it.
you're appreciative, you do. You say,
You're
thank you
gonna
so
say thank
much.
you.
Let me do this for you.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's not super hard. It's, hey, thanks. Like it can be that simple. It's being polite to the wait staff. It's looking me in the eyes when we're having a conversation. If we're having dinner, it's not being on your phone.
I
Yeah.
always ask myself, like, I'm over functioning for everybody else. And so I was on a date the other day and he was kind of a jerk to the wait staff. And I was like, I don't love this already. And found myself like the waiter came over when he went to the bathroom and he's like, "Hey, is everything okay?" I'm like, "I'm so sorry for this. Everything will be fine." And again, over functioning. But as he was coming to the table every time to refill drinks or drop something off, like, "Thank you so much. Thank you so much." And I just sat there going, how hard is it to just throw a quick thank you? I don't
Yeah.
even like in that instance, like, I don't even care if you're sincere. Like, just toss it out there.
Even if the service sucks, you can still generally be polite.
Yes. Yes. And I often wonder, I'll be sitting there with somebody, people that I know and like and love, and go, "You could have said thank you. Say please next time."
Drives me nuts.
I know. I totally
I
agree.
feel like that is not one of my best qualities to say thank you all of the time.
Room for growth.
Yeah,
Or please.
1%.
1%.
I think it's there. I just I think that I get into a habit with some people and don't convey that appreciation.
I
1%.
think that's one of the things that some of my friends are really, really good about. Like Nathan, for example, he'll text me after a round, "Hey man, thanks for going and playing with me today. That was really fun."
Yeah, he's
And
really
just
good at it.
it's not a lot of effort in that, but it means a lot. "Hey man, I'm thanks for inviting me. I had a great time."
I don't know. That's good. Well, it was really interesting because these 5 rules, the goal is to provide a practical path for cultivating courage, purpose, responsibility, acceptance, adaptability. And this one, I'm really not sure of the definition of
I love
psychological resilience.
I love that.
You do?
Yeah, I love that. That's my favorite of the whole list.
Oh, what do you think it means?
I think it is, again, your ability and willingness to bounce back after something has been uncomfortable or hard or different than you thought.
I
Want
think it's the
Hmm,
ability to maintain function during not the best of times. Because there are some
interesting.
people who just lock up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
So I
True.
think that goes back to mom, like you were just saying, kind of committing ourselves to being 1% better every day. With these 5 rules, what are each of you going to focus on to be 1% better?
I think, well, we just said I need to look to say thank you to people who I routinely
Engage with.
underappreciate.
Yeah.
So I think I mean, that's an easy one and measurable to work on. But I think
I
for me,
promise you're not the worst person I know about it.
thanks, thanks. But I look at this word courage And it's the one that probably resonates with me the most.
Mm.
I want to be braver, less fearful. I think that's really the word. Not so much braver, but less fearful. And I think that means looking at these things and kind of having that review with yourself every once in a while.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think purpose is probably the one that I struggle with the most. Like, you can say that you have a purpose and you can come up with your own purpose, but from my perspective, that's just a made up thing. It's just what you said.
Yeah.
And so trying
A
to like
mantra.
with the perspective that I have right now, existence is just existence. There isn't necessarily a meaning to it. We simply are observing it. So trying to find purpose for myself in that existence is extremely difficult. So I guess that's probably where I would need to start to even attempt to work on 2 through 5.
Is is purpose and passion the same thing? What do you see the difference?
Where do you see the similarities?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
I I think if you're passionate about something, then you probably do find purpose in that. So they
I
kind of
am
Sure you
correlate to
can.
me.
passionate about disc golf and video games, but do either of those have
Feel
any
your purpose.
purpose other than like entertainment? Sure.
Community.
Yeah.
But do they have like,
Exercise.
will me playing video games have an impact on how the universe unfolds? And maybe I just have too grand
I
a
was just
I
gonna
started to
say,
image of
does your
purpose.
purpose have to
I
affect the
I
universe?
think you need to funnel that purpose down to your purpose instead of the grand scheme of the universe's purpose for you.
Right, but if the thing that I exist in has no purpose, how does anything within it have purpose?
My mind hurts.
That's your
Tell me about it.
nihilism showing through, I think.
Yeah.
I
So
I think that's subjective, not objective, though. I don't think not having a purpose is necessarily bad. I just think that it is.
I think when you say that to me, my first thought is, what are you living for then?
What are you living for? Why are you here?
That's a great question. I don't know that I know the answer to that.
That's kind of what I'm saying. And like, and I'm again, I want to clarify here. I don't think a purposeless existence is necessarily a bad thing because,
Yeah.
again, from my perspective, the universe doesn't really have a purpose. It just is. It's okay to experience existence. In fact, it can be quite pleasurable at times to experience existence. But I don't necessarily know that that means we exist for a reason. But I don't think that's inherently negative either. I think there is this connotation that having a purpose is good that makes it look from that perspective that purposelessness is bad, but I don't believe that personally.
If I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning thinking, I'm going to be so mad,
Put it on the Marco Polo thread.
yeah, I'll just
If you
text
wake up at
y'all.
2 in the morning thinking, "Oh, what?"
I don't know what my purpose is.
She's gonna figure
These
it out.
children have put this in my brain and I don't know what my purpose is, or that you were right and that there's really not a purpose for anything. Either one of those will hurt my brain at 2 o'clock.
But you can relax just knowing that it doesn't actually matter. So you can just go back to sleep because there's no purpose.
I'm not sure I believe that, but maybe I'll convince myself at 2:05 or
There you go.
2:20. So, just a little segue here. Someone who seems to have a weird purpose is the guy in Philadelphia wearing like a Chucky mask, chasing people at 5:30 in the morning down the street.
Sounds like a great way to get shot.
For real.
Well, that definitely probably should not happen in Texas, but yeah. But there's a story out about this dude that is running around with this Chucky mask on and chasing people. And here's what I think this is this is where I think justice comes from. So he picked the wrong woman the other day to scare. Her name was Jamaica Wilson, and I had to look this up and figure out what it was they were even talking about, but she had learned defense from theater staging, and she started to run. She had seen him mess with two other people on the other side of the street. And then he came after her and she started to run. And then it struck her that, hey, she could use this talent. Fight choreography. She could use this. And so apparently she turned around and just kicked the shit out of this guy right in his chest.
Good for
and
her.
Stopped him cold. And then he ran away.
Nice.
Yeah. You get kicked in the chest, you're going to run away too. Oh, speaking of kicked in the chest.
Chair number 3.
No, this is chair number 3, but it's the same one. It does it sometimes.
Gosh. So, I mean, the weird thought to me is, what the hell are you thinking?
Terrorizing people.
Yes.
Obviously, he's not.
Maybe he thought this was his purpose in life, to keep them on their toes.
Somebody better have a conversation with him about what real purpose is about.
Yeah, where's his mama when we need her?
Yeah. But, A, don't be doing that crap. And B, go girl. Just knock the crap out of him the next time.
What is the craze in phrases right now? Fuck around, find out. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Well, I think he got a stupid prize.
Right in the chest. And
now the police are looking for him for, I believe it was a felony charge because of the threat.
Multiple threats that he's made behind this mask. It's a nationwide manhunt because they think he's fled Pennsylvania altogether. I hope they find him and somebody gives him a stern talking to.
I hope he gets more than his talking to. I hope he gets another kick in the chest.
And I think he needs to be better than 1% better, more than 1% better. I think he has more ground to make up.
I think he's got some work to do.
Hey, progress over perfection.
I mean, that is my
like
MO,
he needs a lot of progress.
He's got some really good room for progress.
Yeah. He's going to get hurt. Somebody.
Yeah.
So who's got my good news story?
I've got your good news story this week. Garbage workers in Italy help a woman find her $1 million jackpot lottery ticket. There was a woman in southern Italy who uses the same numbers every time when she plays the lottery. Based on the article that I read, I am assuming that it is a loved one's birthday because she went to her local tobacconist in southern Italy and tried to scan in her lottery ticket. And those specific scanning machines have a readout that comes back as non-payable. And it can mean one of two things. Either there are no winnings on the ticket, or the winnings are too substantial for that location to redeem it.
That seems like a glitch to me.
Yeah, she assumed that it was the former and that it just was not a winning ticket, and she threw it away. And a relative saw the winning numbers, knew those were the numbers that she played, presumably because of a connection to another loved one, and called her and asked her, hey, did you play this week? And they went over the numbers, and the woman, obviously in a frenzy, realizing that she had thrown away a winning lottery ticket, called the store, and they said, hey, we're sorry, but the trash truck has already come. So she called the local company that takes care of waste disposal, SANB, and they helped her find the ticket. They isolated the truck that was on that route and got together a bunch of protective gear for the sanitation workers, and miraculously were able to find the winning ticket whole. From this article, it sounds like she made a donation to kind of pay for the time that they had to waste to find that ticket. But both she and I think it was an administrator Robert Nicola Toscano, who kind of organized it all for the sanitation company side of things. But everyone in the long run was very happy she got her winning ticket back and won €1,000,000 thanks to the very generous efforts of SANB and their sanitation workers.
I can think of so many companies who would just laugh that off and say, "Are you nuts? We're not doing that."
You better believe she said thank you.
I bet she did say
I think
thank
she did
you.
a little more than say thank you.
I bet she did.
Oh my gosh. Well, kudos to them. That's pretty amazing that you dig through garbage to find a winning lottery ticket.
You
It's
said
for
it took them
€1,000,000.
hours.
It's not like it's a $20 ticket.
Yeah. Can you imagine her reaction when she realized that she'd thrown it away?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure just all the blood drained from her face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Too funny. All right. Well, 1%, you guys.
Say, go forth, be 1% better tomorrow.
Love y'all.
Love
Love
you.
y'all.